Coronavirus cases continue to rise around the world, with global cases passing the 40.5 million mark. At least 10 countries, including France, Germany, and Italy, hit record highs for average new cases on Monday. Meanwhile, Moderna CEO saying he expects interim results for a COVID vaccine next Monday, with emergency use possible by the end of the year. And Reuters reporting that AstraZeneca may resume its vaccine trial as early as this week. For more on the state of the race for coronavirus cure, we're joined by Umar Rafat, the senior analyst at Evercore ISI. He was just named the #1 biotech and pharma analyst on the Institutional Investor All-America Research Team. Umar, great to have you. Congratulations on that honor.
Thank you for having me.
I wanted to ask you about just the notion of transparency now. We are getting all sorts of updates, whether it be from the CEOs of Moderna or Pfizer, about the status of their vaccines, the status of trials, when they expect to get approval. Does that make it harder or easier to trade these stocks?
You know, I think when all is said and done, we want to see definitive efficacy readouts. And to get definitive efficacy readouts, the ultimate trading events will matter based on when we actually get real data. So, for example, Pfizer's guiding to end October. Moderna could possibly have interim data in mid-November. Those will actually be theoretically the next big trading opportunities when the vaccines could, in fact, hit something north of 70% efficacy.
So as an analyst, when you hear these CEOs talk about various milestones, potential milestones to look out for, does it get you extra excited? Does it raise the bar in terms of meeting those deadlines, or does it not make a difference from your perspective?
Right. So that's very important. So the reason they're guiding to those time points is because they have a certain expectation of the pace at which infections are accumulating in these ongoing trials. So, for example, Pfizer had north of 20,000 people dosed as of a certain point in September. And their expectation is over the course of 30 to 45 days of tracking those folks, there's a certain number of infections that might kick in, maybe perhaps 30 plus. And if that's the case, they expect a certain efficacy bar to be met. So the timelines these companies are guiding you to is effective their expectation of how fast COVID is happening in their trial.
All right. Your top pick within your space is Gilead. Recently, there was a question about the efficacy of its coronavirus treatment, remdesivir, because of a WHO study. Why do you like Gilead, and you know what makes it your top pick?
Sure. So Gilead, I like it a lot because I think going forward, Gilead has effectively defined itself with a EPS trough source of at least $8, based on a combination of their existing business momentum as well as new drivers of business, which is remdesivir temporarily, but more importantly, their capsid inhibitor, Trodelvy, and more importantly, call options on oncology franchise. As it relates to remdesivir, I think the study that came out recently has a lot of randomization problem. It's not a true randomized trial, so I wouldn't read too much into that one.
And in terms of how an investor should view vaccines and treatments for coronavirus, in your coverage universe, Umar, is this upside to any of your names, or does your rating not hinge at all on developments in vaccines?
I think if there's one vaccine name that I cover, which is not getting any generalist dollars for COVID vaccines, it's probably Merck. And I say that because if you look at Merck, it's already been selected into Dr. Fauci's group of selected vaccines. And I think there's almost no conversation of Merck being a COVID vaccine player. So if there's one name that's not getting much player, it's probably Merck.
Umar, great to speak with you. Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
Umar Rafat, Evercore ISI. Guy Adami, Merck is an under-the-radar vaccine play. What do you think of it?
Well, it's below $80 as well. And I think just in terms of the company, forget about vaccines, although Merck was basically created on the back of vaccines, the stock is too cheap. So I agree on that one. Gilead, by the way, is trading $60 on the screws again, which is really, really disappointing given the news that they've had the last couple of weeks. And Steve started the show mentioning the Netflix double top. You know, we don't talk about ETFs all that often, but, you know, you have one in IBB in terms of the 146.5 level. It traded back in June, I believe, and the recent high failed there. That's concerning. We had pointed out it really needed to close above 147, didn't do it. That's a little concerning here, Mel, given the really wake of great news the entire space has had recently.
Shepard Smith here. Thanks for watching CNBC on YouTube.